Hi everybody, this is Celeste. I'm a Nationally Certified Interventionist. I'm a family coach and I'm also a recovery coach. I had posted a couple weeks ago about how March is a really reflective month for me because I got sober April 1st, 2017. So March of 2017 was a really hellish month for me, and I had kind of semi-seriously been trying to get sober. I had something happen in January of 2017 that really logically I'm like, this has to be it. This has to be the end of addiction. Like, I've got to get sober. I've got to get into recovery. And so I started full rolling. I had gone to see my doctor in like January and got on a medication plan to help me get sobriety, get recovery, some medication to help with my mental health, to help with cravings and withdrawals and all that kind of stuff. So I'd started that process and I felt like, hey, this has got to be it, this has got to be it. But I wasn't quite there yet. And I had some more relapses and, I'd go back to my doctor and he'd say, let's start over. And one of the unfortunate side effects of going on the medication and continuing to drink, there's definitely a very real reason why they tell you not to take these medications and continue to drink, because they do actually intensify the effects of alcohol. And so I was finding that I was feeling the effects of alcohol while drinking a lot less. So and while that might be great, partially great, it was also causing me more intense blackouts. It was decreasing my ability to function, and that was kind of one of the things that I always prided myself on, that I was like a functioning alcoholic. And it was getting to the point where mixing these medications and alcohol, it was really decreasing my ability to be productive at work, to even get to work at all. I was struggling to get to work for 2 and 3 and 4 days at a time, and having to take time off. And probably in about mid-March, I ended up admitting myself to the psychiatric unit. And while the medications that I was taking were actually meant to help reduce my anxiety and my depression, I was finding that it was really intensifying my anxiety, especially in the morning. And like I said, I'm mixing alcohol and these medications, and I was finding that it was really intensifying my anxiety, and I was drinking more and more and finding myself really in the midst of being drunk and really intense anxiety. And like, it literally felt like I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. Like, I was just so uncomfortable in my own skin that in about mid-March, I actually admitted myself to the ER because I couldn't cope. Like, I couldn't cope with the levels of anxiety that I was having, and I was in a really hard, difficult space. And I was in the psychiatric unit, and they were giving me medications. And there's this conception that you get really awesome medications in the psych ward, and no, like, it just, whatever medications they were giving me, just, they weren't working. Like, it just wasn't effective. Like, I still felt like I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. I thought I'd be good at the psychiatric unit. I thought they'd give me meds to help me, and it was just, I was actually feeling worse, and probably because I didn't have access to alcohol. And it was just ugly. Like, it was just ugly. And I actually left the psychiatric unit. I checked myself back out. So against medical advice, one of the nursing staff told me, you've got to stay here because you are super, super sick. Like, you're gonna die without medical attention. Like, you're just not doing well. So I was just really freaked out and just not able to cope. And so I left against medical advice, and they told me not to check myself out, and I did anyways, because I thought, I know alcohol's killing me, but it's the coping mechanism that I know to use, even though it got me to the psych ward, in this anxiety meltdown. Like, it was just brutal. So it was like the only thing I knew to do, and it was just so ugly. And I think other people were starting to recognize that I wasn't coping, I wasn't functioning, I wasn't doing well in addiction. So my family did an intervention on me on March 31st of that year, and I got into recovery April 1st was my sobriety date, my recovery date, April 1st of 2017. So I'm coming up on 4 years in just over a week, and it's, it seems surreal, right? That I was ever in that place of just feeling that uncomfortable and feeling that uneasy, that I felt like I had to go to the emergency room and get checked into the psych ward because things weren't going well. And I had to do a lot of work in that first year or so, first year to 18 months, and I really had to do a lot of work. And life is a lot better for me today. And it's not perfect. It's not. I think we think that, oh, if that person could just get sober, or I could just get sober, everything will just be hunky dory, right? But I had to do a lot of work, and it's interesting because coming up on my 4 years, I talk a lot about boundaries and with people, and right now I'm just in a fix about boundaries, and having to set boundaries, some very clear boundaries with some people, and they're just not having it. And I've done my boundary setting. I've tried to be very clear. I've tried to be in that place of being wording it the best way I can, and people are just, well, whatever, it's Celeste, she'll tolerate it. And maybe because I've tolerated it for a while, and put up with it to my own detriment. And I talk to a lot of people about boundaries, and I feel like it's just ironic that I'm coming up on 4 years and dealing with some boundaries where I'm going to have to make a really big adult decision, and I'm not going to get the result I want from setting boundaries. And this is something that I talk to a lot of my clients with. I talk about it on my page. I talk about it in my lives about setting boundaries. I've got a boundary course out there, and coming up on 4 years, I'm having to set boundaries, and I'm going to have to make a difficult decision to disconnect from some stuff because it's just not working, and people aren't respecting my boundaries, and this is what it looks like in recovery. Coming up on 4 years of recovery, and I'm struggling with this boundary, and struggling to make those decisions, and it is a struggle. And I think a complete lack of boundaries was really one of my triggers, and really one of the reasons that led me to drink, and not being able to know how to do that. I was never taught that. I was never given that. And I think it's I've come to the conclusion that I will have to make a hard decision about this boundaries, and this boundary setting, and them not being respected, and I'm going to have to walk away from doing something that I love because I have to protect myself. I have to protect my mental health, and it really sucks being an adult because this is something that I love doing, and because there's some dysfunctional people in that environment that I love that aren't receptive to those boundaries. Other people are often in a place of hurt when we're setting boundaries, and they just want to continue to lash out and not respect boundaries, and not do that, and not respect other people's boundaries, and continue to hurt people, and be disrespectful, and be not courteous or kind, and that's the unfortunate reality of the world that we live in. And I would love to say, when I teach boundaries, that yeah, just go out there and set your boundaries, and people are going to respect them, and they're going to respect you. And the unfortunate reality as an adult is it's not, the end of a Full House episode, or the end of a Little House on the Prairie episode, where you set your boundary, and Charles Ingalls sits down with you and says, that's wonderful, and you get a good result out of it. That's really great on television, but it's not real life. And I wanted to talk about that, and I was wanting to do a live about that really reflective month, because I was saying March is a reflective month for me, and I was actually procrastinating about doing it, and I wasn't really sure why I was procrastinating, and now I really feel like there's a reason for it, because I want to let people know that when you get sober, or when you get into recovery, or when someone you love gets into recovery, things don't just automatically just become wonderful and rainbows and sunshine. There's a lot of work to be done, and a lot of healing to be done. And 4 years in, I still have my own personal struggles with boundaries in relationships and in work, and I still have to be really diligent about when I'm procrastinating about setting a boundary. Why am I doing that? Why is that coming up? What need am I trying to fill and not setting that boundary right away? And I've been guilty of that in this, and I'm like, I've had to go back and do some inner work. So, just because you get sober and, you've got a couple of years in, the work is never done. There's always an improvement on this process. And I really wanted to reiterate that and just solidify that in recovery, whether you're in recovery yourself or love somebody who's in active addiction or recovery, our work is never done. And so I just, and I was blessed to be able to talk to some people about that in the last week or so and really get some clarification and, being able to talk about it with my people and get some support and get some feedback on how I can do this, because I did set a boundary, it didn't work out. Okay, well, what's the next step after setting that boundary? And it's a very adult, real situation that I'm gonna have to really stand by my boundaries and back them up, and I'm gonna have to be an adult in this situation. And I think that's part of what scared me, is having to man up and be an adult and do the work and stick to my own core values and what I believe in, and saying what I believe is right and my truth in a gentle, respectful, adult way. And now I'm going to have to back that with my actions and continue to set those boundaries and detach. So I really, I'm glad that I procrastinated a little bit about doing this video, because it gave me the opportunity to add some additional work in there, coming up on 4 years, and I'm still doing it. I'm still doing the work. And I'm glad to be doing it, the work. I actually said to somebody over the weekend, this is a luxury problem, because I don't have to drink today. I don't have to, this isn't something that's going to send me off to the bottle again. And, this is just tweaking. This is just tweaking my boundaries now, right? I've got a good solid hold on my boundaries, and now I just have to do some tweaking and remembering to stand by that. So, I want to thank you for tuning in and listening to a part of my journey and a part of my heart. And I hope that this helped someone today and gave someone some hope that, you can hit that really bad place. And, that last month was really a place of hell for me, and just probably for my friends and family too. And, I really firmly feel that if, I can do it, anybody can. And, there's no way that I should have gotten sober. Like, there was just, I could not imagine doing 24 hours, much less 4 years. I think I'm up, I think I did a post the other day, I'm up around 1,448 days of sobriety, when I honestly thought there's no way, like, the thought of having to do 24 hours without alcohol, there was no way I had any comprehension of being able to do that. Like, that would send me into a meltdown. It would send me out into drinking more. So, I really just want to let you know that, if there's hope for me, there's hope for each and every person out there, whether it's you or someone you love. Never give up hope, and never give up trying, because there's hope for me, there's hope for you. Thank you for tuning in and sharing a piece of my journey. Have a great day.